presentation for this afternoon is Building on That, the Austin Autograph Project by Ciara Kent.
Hello, everyone. My senior project focuses on one central question. How are the buildings that surround us constructed? And what are all the things that go into making that possible? I decided to explore this by following the construction of a magazine, and then, following the construction of a hotel in downtown Austin, and then creating a magazine to showcase all the information I'd learned and share with the Waldorf community. Although that is where my senior project started, that is not the beginnings of my project. My slideshow is not working. There it goes. Okay. I grew up surrounded by the construction industry, with my dad coming home from work, telling me all sorts of stories and anecdotes about his day. I also got to have many different experiences, like walking on job sites and standing next to huge machinery, like in this picture here. Another fun thing that I got to experience was the implosion of a building before a new one could be constructed. These memories have shaped my curiosity in the construction industry and got me excited to learn more. I think my first memory in the construction industry would be driving around downtown Austin with my dad. Driving downtown, he would point out different buildings that he had worked on or the company he works for, DPR Construction, had built. Now, DPR Construction has been shaping the Austin skyline ever since their Austin office opened in 1994. Some of the most notable buildings that you guys might recognize would be the Google building, or nicknamed the Sailboat Building on the waterfront, the JW Marriott, and also the Waterline Tower, which is now the tallest tower in Texas. The project that I had the opportunity to work on was the Austin Autograph Project, or Hotel Trinity. This project is located on 5th and Trinity in downtown, right next to the famous music venue Antone's. Okay, the computer is about to shut down, and the screen will have to reload. I'm not sure how long that will take. Okay. Sorry for the wait. Okay, there it goes. Okay, to review what I was saying earlier, the Austin Autograph Project is located on 5th and Trinity Street in downtown Austin, located right next to the famous music venue Antone's. Throughout my project, I've gotten to see how the construction process has gone from its initial excavation all the way to now, as the project reaches its final completion. The hotel itself has many different features which make it interesting to learn about, such as a bar and restaurant, and other hotel amenities, such as a rooftop pool and gym. Now, there were countless things that were construction-related that helped set me up for this project, but other non-construction related things helped prepare me too. My 8th grade project was one of those. For this project, I worked in branding and marketing my own soda company, and to do this, interviewed a variety of local small business owners to learn more about that. Later, I'll come back to why my skill of interviewing became important. What really laid the foundations for my senior project was my junior year work experience. Although I wasn't initially planning to have this be my senior project, as I learned more and gained curiosity about the industry, I really leaned in. So my dad helped me set up 2 different halves of this work experience. The first half was on the Autograph job site in its very initial phases of construction. The other half was in the office with 2 members of the marketing team, Bree Rutherford and Stephanie Webster, who are here today, and they taught me all about the proposal process and construction and different marketing components. These 2 ideas really inspired me to learn more and take this on as my senior project, wanting me to combine both halves to create my own project. Now, to give a little bit of context to what exactly the timeline was for this project, I created a visual. The upper half gives a general outline of the construction timeline for the Autograph project, while the bottom timeline shows my senior project's timeline. When I squish the two together, the resulting timeline is this, and I'll be referring back to this image throughout my presentation to give additional context on where I was in the project. Now, before I could start compiling my magazine, I had to gather all the information that would go into it. This started with my work experience in March of 2025. I had 3 main ways of gathering information. The first was interviews. In my 8th grade project, I saw how vital it is to be building connections with the people that I'm learning from. But I wanted to step up my interview skills and take it a step further. To do this, I challenged myself in 2 different ways. The first was by walking up to somebody I'd never met before, introducing myself right then and there, and then asking them if they were available to interview right then or later that day. That was really challenging for me because I like things very planned out and to be able to prepare all my questions beforehand. Doing this taught me how to think on the fly. The second way that I challenged myself in my interviews was by conducting one of my interviews entirely in Spanish. The interior foreman that I was interviewing was more comfortable speaking in his first language, Spanish. So I decided to accommodate his preferences and also have the opportunity to practice my Spanish speaking in a professional setting. The other 2 ways that I gathered information were through job site walks and shadowing my senior project mentor. My senior project mentor, Hallie Perrin, is the project manager on the Autograph site. Getting to sit in on meetings with her, have her answer all of my questions, and teach me all about what she does on a day-to-day basis was very key in every aspect of what I learned throughout the project. Job site walks were also very helpful because I got to fully immerse myself in the construction process and see all around me what went into it. This here is a picture that I took while on the Waterline job site with my project mentor and other members of the team. One thing that really pushed me to take this on as my senior project was a trip I took to Las Vegas after my work experience. After having background information and context for really what went into the construction industry, getting to see that on a grand scale really inspired me, and I couldn't even begin to wrap my head around how much work and detail must have gone into these hotels. Now, for my project, my main focus was on the Autograph site, a more small to mid-sized hotel in downtown Austin. But through my project, I wanted to get a broad view of what the construction industry can look like as a whole. To do this, I made sure to talk to a variety of people in different roles to get a broader understanding, and also visit a variety of different kinds of job sites. This picture shows my brother and I on the job site for the Abilene Data Center, which, if you can imagine, is a very different kind of job site than a hotel downtown. Another goal that I set for myself in this project was to focus on gathering information by building connections with the people around me. I made it my goal to Google the least amount of things as possible and instead ask questions and start conversations. So whenever you see my final magazine, I think it's important to keep in mind that almost everything in that book is something that somebody had to tell me, a question I had to ask, or I had to have a conversation with somebody about. Now for compiling the magazine. At first, I wasn't actually sure if I wanted to do a magazine. I knew I wanted to showcase my information, incorporate both hand-drawn and digital elements, and provide a snapshot of all the things that I'd learned throughout my work on the job site. I decided on a magazine as I was inspired by Waldorf's main lesson books. After coming to Waldorf in 8th grade, I've loved the opportunity to transform all the information that we learn in class into a beautiful final product. My magazine, I started to view my magazine as I worked on this project as a kind of final main lesson book for me, which is something that I'll hold dear to my heart. I started the writing process in June of 2025. Now, at first, this was incredibly disorganized. I had no idea where exactly I wanted to go or how it was going to all come together. My writing process generally consisted of me going to the job site, writing down barely legible notes, and then trying to decipher them to compose sentences and write down ideas, which eventually began to form into full-formed articles. The actual magazine design only began in January of 2026. With this, I started with my drawings. I decided to use watercolor sheets to create the drawings that I would include in my magazine. I took a lot of inspiration from things that I saw on the job site. Here are a few examples of how I took a picture of something on site and then converted it into my own drawing. These here are not all, but many of the drawings that I include in my final magazine. To make the layouts and designs for each page of my magazine, I decided to use Google Slides, as it was the cheapest and most user-friendly option. And I wanted to show all that really went into that. Because I wasn't using any templates, I was deciding the color scheme, the fonts, everything myself. I had to do a lot of extra steps in order to get the final look. So here you can see my final page. This is what the viewer would see. But behind the scenes, in my view, there are many different shapes that had to be compiled to create what, in the end, doesn't seem like that hard of something to create. This here is another example of how a simple shape for an end result actually took many design components to construct on my end. Now for a little walkthrough of my magazine. After compiling all of my written work, forming it into articles, drawing my drawings, and starting layouts for pages, I very quickly realized that my magazine needed some sort of organization, a way for the reader to follow what I'd written and guide them. So I split my magazine into 6 different parts. The first, background information, gives the reader any additional context they might need. Behind the scenes talks about the more management side of construction, while on the job talks about the actual construction process itself, or materials involved. Through the floors is probably my favorite section. It follows me and the interior foreman on the Autograph site as we walk from the very top floor to the bottom, learning about how each floor progresses. I also compiled my interviews that I conducted, and then left at the end all the additional materials that I wanted to find a way to include in my magazine, but didn't quite fit in any of the other sections. Now, for what I believe to be the most important part, my takeaways. First of all, this experience was an amazing opportunity for me to connect more with my dad. I got to have a much better understanding of what he does on a daily basis and learn so much more about and gain a greater understanding of the construction industry, something I've been exposed to my entire life. My senior project mentor also really taught me how to think. Usually before I even try something, I want to be handed all the information and feel as prepared as I possibly can before even trying. Hallie taught me to first try, see what I know, and then ask questions. Through this process, I gained a lot of confidence because I realized that I know so much more than what I think I do. Also, it was really hard for me to step into a workplace environment that I had no experience in. I saw how much people enjoyed whenever I showed up curious and asking questions, and how excited they were to share. I also changed my mindset and began to think about each time I stepped on the job site as an opportunity to learn. I saw how the least experienced person in the room has the most opportunity for growth. It's just a matter of taking those opportunities. And whenever I took those opportunities, I learned so much more. Now, that brings us to today, my senior project presentation. Although my senior project is coming to a close, the Autograph project is not finished. Construction will be completed later this summer in July. I plan to continue to go to the job site and see how the final finishes come together for the project. Now, for a final copy of my magazine, you can see a physical display in the lobby, or scan this QR code, which I'll come back to in a second, for a PDF version. Now, I hope that for anybody that looks at my magazine, I hope that they really think about what goes into the construction that surrounds us. I think oftentimes the buildings that surround us in every day-to-day life get overlooked. They're the spaces that we use all the time. So I think it's important to take a second to think a little bit more. Before I wrap up, I have a few thank yous to say. First of all, to my mentor, Hallie Perrin, who is here today. She was always asking me how she could support me more, and I really appreciate her. To my dad, for always being there for me. He introduced me to this industry and was always there to answer any questions that I had. And my mom for helping me edit my entire magazine and prepare for this presentation. Now, this presentation would not have been possible without the help of many, many other people, many of who are listed here. And lastly, thank you to you guys for listening. I'm happy to answer any questions you might have. Fia? So the question was if I have considered getting my magazine published. No. One, I think I'm not allowed to because it might include information that I'm not supposed to share. I hope not. But it's mainly for the Waldorf community and for myself. Riley?
Two things. First, why was it called the Autograph Project?
It is a brand, sorry, the question was, why is it called the Autograph Project? It's called that because it is part of the branch of Marriott hotels that are the Autograph hotels. That's just what the brand is called. They're more high-end.
And the other thing, could you send that somewhere? I don't know.
Sure, I also have, we'll have printed out copies of the QR code in the lobby as well. I forgot to mention that. Amy?
Such a beautiful presentation, thank you.
Thank you.
I'm curious, how long have you been studying Spanish that you could conduct an interview in Spanish?
The question was how long I've been studying Spanish to prepare for an interview like that. I've been studying Spanish for about 7 years now, and some people that really helped me with this were Karina Hanazuski, and I also went on exchange, which really helped me hone my skills. Mr. Morgan?
Are you going to pursue any of the aspects of this project in college, either the marketing or the engineering policy?
The question was if I'm planning to pursue anything related to this. Eventually, I'd like to pursue engineering, but I'm not entirely sure if I want to be in the construction industry. I could definitely see myself enjoying that, any role in the construction industry, but it's also the industry that I'm most familiar with, so I want to explore other options before I decide to go down that track. Dr. Stotts?
Ciara, that's a wonderful presentation. It just reminds me, it wasn't too long ago when the Texas State Capitol was the tallest point in our city. How do you feel about these growing pains going on with our city, with these construction projects? What's your takeaway with that?
Okay, how do I feel about the growing of downtown? Is that what you're saying? Okay. I'm not really sure. That's a good one. I think new construction is very, very interesting to learn about. And as things around us are changing, I think it's really cool to be involved in and see what that process looks like, because no matter what we do, things are going to change and develop over time. Although I am sad to see older buildings be torn down, I think, I don't know, I think the change is good and it's exciting. Profe?
So I'll just preface this by saying I've seen the magazine up close and I've seen all of the pages and the difference, there's like hand-drawn elements and digital elements. So what I want to ask you, Ciara, is like with that mix of hand-drawn and digital, what kind of interesting challenges or frustrations arose trying to blend the two?
Profe's question was, what challenges arose when trying to combine my hand-drawn and digital aspects of the magazine? Okay, the biggest problem that I faced was trying to convert my drawings into the digital form. I wanted to remove the background, and turns out that that wasn't free in many forms like I expected. So there's a lot of trial and error involved, but eventually I got it figured out, and it was much simpler than I expected. So that was really good, but I spent way too much time trying to figure that out. Over here. Oh, just to clarify, throughout this project or throughout my life? What was the most interesting building I've seen constructed? I think probably the autograph project, because I've gotten the opportunity to learn the most about it. Yeah, I've really only seen quick snapshots of the other buildings that I've been exposed to. Over here.
In the beginning that you said you weren't sure if you wanted to do a magazine.
Mhm.
What were you thinking to do if not a magazine?
The question was what other ideas I had other than a magazine. My initial ideas were like a blog of some sort. So like as I followed the construction process, I'd do a blog post every once in a while, and I also considered doing a website. Oh, over there. Oh, it's Amy.
Are you really happy with your magazine, your final product?
Am I happy with my final product? Yes. It took me a really long time to put it together and compile, and I'm really happy with how the end result turned out. Amy?
I just want to say I have also had a peek on it, and it is extraordinary. So I highly recommend you all follow that QR code and
Thank you
and
so
really
much.
absorb it all.
Right behind, Amy?
How long did it take to put together your project?
So how long did it take to put together my project? There were so many different elements that were included throughout this project, so I can't give you like a specific number, but with working on the job site, the writing process, editing, drawing, I would estimate that my project took about 300 hours to complete. Dave?
I imagine that the people that were working on this project aren't used to seeing like a representation of the work that they've done. Have you gotten any feedback from the people that are, working on the project that have seen your magazine?
Have I gotten any feedback from the people working on the job site? No, they haven't seen it, but I'm excited to show it to them. One more. I don't see any hands. Maybe I'm missing one.